Welcome to the Better Agent Podcast. If you're a real estate agent that's looking to grow your business, then you're in the right place. Whether you want to go from 5 to 10 transactions a year, or 10 to 50 transactions per year, or more, well then this show is for you. I'm Josh Lavik, your host for the Better Agent Podcast, and in each episode, we'll bring you the tools, tips, and tricks directly from myself and some of the best leaders within the real estate industry. We have one goal in mind, and that's to boost your production and elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in and start creating a better real estate experience together. Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and today we're talking about growth in your real estate business like we always do, actually. So hopefully you get some value from this podcast because that's what we want to help agents out there do is help grow their real estate business. I'm here to share some of my stories as a realtor, team leader, real estate investor over the last 20 years in my career, and then also bring on some other guests that can help share some of their growth stories as well, and hopefully give you some good insight and takeaways and nuggets as well. So today I got a great guest with me from Wisconsin as well. I've got Jake Ramey with me, and he's from the Crosse area over on the western side of the state. But Jake, welcome to the show and welcome to the podcast. I'm excited for you to be here and excited to hear a little bit more of your story in real estate over the last 5 years, right? Because you got started kind of right before COVID in 2020, right? Why don't you share a little bit more with our listeners about kind of your backstory and what brought you into the real estate world?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thanks for having me on the podcast, Josh. Pretty excited about that. But yeah, my name's Jake Ramey. I got started in real estate kind of towards the end of 2020. So it was kind of on the back end of COVID. I moved here from out of state. So came from out from Idaho, Montana area, moved here 1,200 miles, didn't know a single person in the area at all. Came here with my girlfriend, now wife. So yeah, didn't have any sphere, didn't really have any money to start buying leads or anything, kind of just decided to dive headfirst into real estate and kind of taking the community approach to grow organically. Just got really involved.
Wait a minute, wait. Let's just pause there for 1 second, right? You moved here to Wisconsin, had no sphere of influence, knew nobody, had never done real estate before, and just decided to go in head first and just like get licensed. I think I'm going to do this.
Yep, pretty much. When I kind of knew I was going to move here for about 6 months, so started just looking at jobs, and I'm like, nothing sounds good. I was in advertising sales at the time, so I really enjoyed like the relationship side of sales, but I didn't like what I was doing. Just I didn't feel like I was bringing enough value to people in what we were doing. So I was like, what's a good business to go into that I can focus on building relationships with people and truly helping them? So kind of just was doing a lot of research online, came into real estate there, and just instantly was like, oh, yep, that'll work. So took the course while I was still living out in Montana, tried to take the test while I was out there so I could hit the ground running the second I got here, but couldn't find a testing facility in Montana during COVID for a Wisconsin real estate exam. So had to wait till I got here Sunday afternoon with the U-Haul, took my test 8 a.m. Monday morning and hit the ground running. So
that's got to take a tremendous amount of courage. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that, think about getting into real estate, think about getting licensed, think about getting going. But, a lot of them that succeed are, they're already somewhat established in a community, but you're moving here fresh new in the community. You didn't really know anybody, and but you made that decision. I think what's interesting is you just decided to pivot though. You knew what you did before in advertising sales, maybe wasn't quite the right fit, not finding enough fulfillment from it, and thought maybe real estate could be it, which I think is telling in itself, right? Like if you're not excited about the product that you're selling, like maybe sell a different product, right? Maybe that sales could still work for you, but maybe considering a different product is a good opportunity and a good option. But did this work for you? I mean, did you even sell a house in your first year?
So it definitely took a couple months to kind of get going. So I got licensed, I think it was towards the end of August, and I didn't sell anything right away, but I think I had 4 closings in December. So I came here with set amount of money, and I was like, all right, once I run out of this money, I'm going to start bartending, I'm going to start Uber driving, I'm going to start doing all the things to put some money in my pocket, but also still be available 7 days a week, all day long. So kind of figured out what's the best way to do this. I decided
so you were committed. I mean, you were committed. Like that's Commitment, focus.
Did not want to get a job, wanted to make this my full-time thing so that I could tell people right away, like, yep, I'm a full-time realtor. So yeah, it took a couple months just to kind of meet people. I mean, you gotta, like, it's a relationship business. So in order to find someone who actually wants to buy and sell, you got to just be out there meeting people. So it took me a couple months to get my first clients, had I think 4 closings in that December, and then took off from there as far as getting referrals from those past clients and just growing.
And you did, what did you say, about a dozen deals, I think you told me, in your first year?
Yeah, so there was like 4 in that December, and then the next year in 2021, I think I did about 12, and then have 1.5 to 2 times my business every year since.
So that's a growth plan, right? Like 1.5 times grow. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you want to grow your business by 50% in the next year, here's what you got to do. Go in, burn the boats mentality. I'm going all in, and here we go. We're going to make this happen. Want to figure it out. And how did you figure that out? Like, that's a great story. I love that.
I dove kind of headfirst into books and podcasts like this one, just trying to learn some nuggets from all these different people that I could. And a lot of things I heard was just use your sphere, grow your sphere. So then I was like, all right, how am I going to meet people in this brand new town? So I dove headfirst into Chamber of Commerce, young professionals, just going to every single thing I could, and was like, how do I just get more involved where it appears like I'm a local? So joined like the committee on the young professionals, spent about 6 months on that, and then I became the president of the organization. I started coaching high school football so that teachers, coaches, parents, just trying to get my name out there using something that I'm passionate about to also make a difference, but also just get my name out there too. So I started just slowly diving more and more into that, where I was trading my coaching contract for advertising, joined the booster club, using that to then even just get more in front of parents and the teachers. So then I was like, all right, how do I get more in front of the teachers? So then I joined the Onalaska Education Foundation, which, for those of you who don't know, Onalaska is kind of like a suburb of La Crosse. So that's the community I dove into. I was coaching at the high school there, joined the Education Foundation so I could be physically in the school talking to teachers, and just kept niching down on this specific, not market, but a specific community, and just finding other ways to give back and get involved to just grow and meet more people.
You know, I love that story, and I love that takeaway, and I love how simple it is, right? And it's actually not that different than my story. When I first started in the business, I was fairly young, didn't really know that many people, wasn't even sure if I wanted to get into real estate, but I remember doing almost the exact same thing, right? Like, I went to every single Chamber of Commerce event I could think of. I joined our local young professionals group. I got involved in lots of different networking things, and like, I was just visible, and I was doing a lot of the same types of things when I was early on and growing my business, right? I think when you first get started, and if you don't have a lot of money, you have one of two choices. You either do what's free or minimal expense, and that's just get out there and talk to as many people as possible, or you are able to spend some money and invest in marketing or leads or things like that. But you got to do something to get in front of more potential people and more potential buyers and sellers. And I think that's a great story, and I think it's one that works, and it's proven. And it's proven in different markets. I mean, I did the same thing here in Madison. You did the same thing in La Crosse. I guarantee you that I've talked to other people in other areas around the country that have done the exact same thing. So if you're listening, what's the message? The message is get involved with something you're excited about, passionate about, right? You played football, I'm guessing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you were a football player and decided, hey, I like to play football. Maybe I'll get involved in coaching. I can get in front of more parents, more teachers, all that kind of stuff. And then those relationships naturally build over time. Plus you're excited to go, coach the little football players or whatever it is you're excited about. So I think that's great. And I think those relationships and referrals, I think, also tend to compound over time for sure. So, and what was it last year? You did, how many deals were you able to do last year then?
So last year I did 28 transactions.
Okay. And this year you're on track for, I think you said you're already at close to that right now, right?
Yeah, I'll be A couple weeks from now, with what I have pending that's set to close, I'll be at 26. So it's
26. Okay. So we're only about halfway through the year. We're only halfway through the year, folks. Okay. So what's the moral of the story? Get going, get in front of people and let it build and compound. Have that burn the boats mentality. You're going all in. Man, I love that. I can't even tell you what I'm thinking right now. Like, I love that excitement, because I think so many times I remember, I've had similar experiences where, when I first started in the business, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And I had kind of a same concept, right? I was going to bartend or wait tables. And I ended up doing some of that part-time, but I didn't give up on the real estate. But I think for me, it was, once I got to that, 30, 40 transactions mark, once I got to that point, that was a big turning point for me as well. And I think I remember, I had gotten an award for our local 40 under 40 business leaders in Business Magazine in the Madison area. And that was in 2010. I'd been in the business 5 years. And I think for me, it was the first sort of outward display of kind of recognition that I could do this, right? And because it's a tough business, right? And when you're young, I was in my 20s, 26 years old, I think, when I got started. And I wasn't sure, I wasn't as self-confident, not really sure if I could do this business. But I think for some of that, once you start getting those referrals and those future business and clients, you tend to get some of those awards and things like that as well that can help solidify your business even more. So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, it's not all rainbows and unicorns, right? So tell me, you hit some road bumps along the way. What are some challenges maybe that you encountered over the last few years that maybe made you want to quit or had to pivot, or what did you end up doing when you hit some challenges? Is there something that comes to mind?
I would say after that first year, there's always going to be kind of ups and downs of real estate, and we're not all perfect where it's continual growth. There's definitely peaks and valleys that we kind of go through this business.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of going off our last point too, like you either have time or you have money to get going at the beginning, where I had a lot of time. So that's why I was able to get so involved, but not all of that is going to instantly turn into business. It's a long, slow journey of creating those relationships to then get referrals down the road. And like coaching, I'm going into my 6th year, it'll be the 6th season here, but that's just now starting to see like a lot of referrals coming from that, where half the coaching staff has bought a house with me in the last 2 years, or a lot of their siblings are using me and teachers are starting to use me. But that first 3 years, there was nothing there. So one of the struggles was just, I'm putting in all this time in, but I'm not actually getting sales. And like, do I have enough money to survive this? So there was definitely times where I was picking up bartending shifts Friday night and Saturday night and doing all I could there. And I kind of got to the point where I realized I sold the owner of the bar's house and then helped them buy another house, where I was like, I just made more money in a day than I did in the last 6 months of bartending every Friday night and Saturday night. So I'm like, how do I make this work? So at that point, I just really committed to myself that I'm going to dive so hard into like continuing not only to grow that sphere, but I'm going to just master my CRM and just be relentless at staying in touch with the sphere I have created and any leads that I met online. I was really bad at it for a while, where I'd show them a house like, oh yeah, we'll let you know. We're probably not ready yet. And, all right, sounds good. Let me know. I didn't reach out to them. They're never going to call me again. They're gone. And then I'd reach out to them 6 months later, like, oh, we actually just closed on a house. I'm like, awesome. So, so I really learned in that period that like, you got to go out and find the business, and then you got to keep reaching out to them and trying to provide value so that they do come back to you one day when they are ready. So I think now that I've kind of turned that page probably 2 years ago, it's really taken off, where I'm not having those conversations as often, where I'm talking to someone and then I forget about them and I reach back out like, oh, we actually just bought. So
yeah. I love that. A couple things you said that stood out to me is like, for the first 3 years of doing something, you saw no results, but you stuck with the coaching and now you're seeing results, right? So if you're out there and you're struggling and you're not seeing results after the first year, don't give up. After the second year, maybe don't give up. And after the third year, maybe don't give up, because after year 4 or 5 and more, boom, now you're selling half the team a house because you're paying attention, And I think, actually, I have a very recent example. My friend Katie and her husband are buying a house right now. They're moving. They first wrote an offer with me. We first started looking at homes probably 3 years ago. Okay. And right, the market at that time, hyper competitive, super low inventory, lower interest rates, obviously, but they weren't able to get into something. And so they'd pause for a while, then we'd start looking again. They'd pause for a while. But I think also the other thing you said that I've found also a huge success with is just that comment you made of being relentless with your CRM, right? Everybody, if you're in this real estate business, right, most people have a CRM. Are you relentless with your CRM? Like, that comment, I think, is huge. And I think it's something I share that it resonates with me, because I think that's one thing I've noticed too, when I do have that similar kind of mindset of being relentless with my CRM. Am I following up consistently with these people that I've come across to stay in touch and continue to build and nurture those relationships? If the more often I do that, suddenly the more success I tend to have as well. And so I think that's just a great mindset and a great concept to have, because so Katie, I think the deal I have now, right, we have an accepted offer on a property, and then they also have a house to sell. So they're a great client to have, but like, if I didn't have them in my CRM, if I wasn't relentless and continuing to touch base, not overly pushy and assertive, but I think continuing to still check in on where they're at in the process, right? It's continuing to stay top of mind, continuing to provide value, continuing to send properties that you think might be a good possibility. All those things, I think, are what help keep you top of mind, so that if and when they are ready, boom, suddenly an opportunity appears, and then they're ready to go, and then the business just tends to show up. That's what I've noticed anyway. So love that concept.
And then once they do close, you don't turn it off either. You continue to check in with them a month later, 3 months later, trying to provide value of, hey, do you need contractors, plumbers, electricians? What can I do to help you? That's where those referrals start to really come in. Well, another thing I did when I first got started was I started doing like quarterly home buyer seminars at a brewery. So I just would probably cost me like $100. Partner with a lender, an insurance agent, a home inspector, and a title company. Get them to sponsor it. Run some Facebook ads. Hey, free beer and free pizza at this brewery. Called it Hops and Homes. So it was drink some beer, learn about homes. First one I had 30 people show up to, which I was like, I was so overwhelmed. I was terrified. Talked to them for like 10 minutes. Had one young couple that they're like, this was great. We love you. We're going to buy in 3 to 4 years. So I'm like, okay, that's terrible because I need money now. But I was starting up. But they ended up buying with me probably 3 years later, stayed in contact with them. Fortunately, they were like the only ones I did stay in contact with from that, just because I didn't quite know how to use my CRM at the time. But I closed, I think, 5 or 6 properties with referrals from them in the past year, where they really saw the value. And like, by staying in touch with them, we closed on their house, stayed in touch with them after, continuing to provide value, taking them out to lunch later on, grabbing a couple drinks here and there every 6 months or so, just staying in touch with those past clients and continuing to provide value. They're going to send you referrals.
Totally. So, yeah, no, I love that. Staying in touch and providing value, right? It's not always the people that you serve that will maybe provide as much, people and come across, right? I can think of many times where I've met lots of people at networking events or chamber events or whatever it might be, even homebuyer seminars I've done, and maybe they're not ready to do business, but it's oftentimes they know somebody who is going to be doing business. Hey, you know what? You should talk to so-and-so because they're in the market, or they're looking for this, or they're looking for that. And now suddenly those, if you do show up and add value and are helpful, and then you will get that opportunity if you're listening for it, if you're looking for it, if you're offering to help those people. I think that's very important to do. So let's maybe dive more into even that term. Like, I think we hear it a lot, right? You want to add value to their lives. And what does that mean? What add value meaning? Can you get more specific, about more granular? I mean, I know for me, actually, one thing I know that I've been doing kind of for years that I think adds value, especially to homeowners. Any of our past clients, we try to reach out on a semi-regular basis of just providing them a current, like an annual market update of, hey, here's what's happening. I noticed, I was just thinking about you today. Your property just sold right down the street from you, and it looks kind of similar because of X, Y, or Z, and just letting them know, sending them some of that information. But I think also personalizing it. I think there's a lot of tools and automation and AI out there, but I think if you can personalize some of those things, I think it tends to resonate a little bit better and land a little bit better with people. Yeah. What about for you? What types of value do you think, if you could be more specific on what value means, what would you say that is?
Yeah, I think just trying to go above and beyond that, the real estate transaction itself is what else can you do for them that maybe somebody else wouldn't. One of the things I always do I've been getting into a lot of relocation for some reason. I started to get like a lot of referrals from agents outside of the area. And when I have a buyer moving to the area, I know what it's like to know nothing about an area where I was like, I don't even know where to go get a haircut, or like, how do I even start with finding the right dentist for me? So I created this like massive sheet of everything from, here's where I think you should take your car to get checked out. Here's the best oil change place, best place for haircuts for men and women, or where to get your nails done. I have my wife help me with that portion of it, but favorite places for happy hours and like best burger, best steak, just this massive sheet fully branded with all my info. But when I give that to new buyers that move to the area, they're going to hold on to it for when they do need anything on there. But then they're going to also think about me when they're at that burger place. Like, oh, Jake sent us here. This place is awesome. I'm going to stay top of mind for them there.
Yeah.
After about a month after closing, I always give them a call. Just, hey, how's the house? How'd the move go? Like, what projects are you guys working on? At first, I was scared to do that. So I was so scared there was going to be like, oh, like there's this major thing wrong with the house. We're mad at you. But I realized by reaching out to them, I could then provide value of, here, I got a guy that can help you. Or we have water in our basement. We didn't know about that. Like, hey, here's a great company that can waterproof your foundation.
Yeah.
Where maybe they wouldn't know where to start and they're just kind of avoiding dealing with it. By coming in and helping that way, it just goes above and beyond post-closing.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think that's super important. And, not just thinking about the people as a transaction, right? How do you stay in touch afterwards and continue to nurture that? But also adding value is just listening to them, right? That's, I think, what's most important, right? What's happening in their lives? What are they needing or wanting or interested in that could be helpful, right? Like, I know I've done certain things too when I know like they have young kids and I know of some event going on for kids or something at the zoo, for example, or whatever, some type of thing that I think they might like. Sometimes, I'll send that out to some of my past clients and just be like, hey, I noticed this event's happening. Maybe go check it out. I hope you're doing well. I think that, adding value, I think that's a good point you bring up, right? Like sometimes we get in our heads about, right? Well, if I call them, what am I going to say? I mean, they already bought a house. They're not going to buy another one, right? It was a month ago, but sometimes, right, they're working on projects and they're needing help with something. And if you can help connect them with someone else that can also help them, that's adding value. Boom. There you go. That just did something great. Absolutely.
And then you're also adding value to that plumber that you're
vendor
with or like, different vendors. And like, every time I go out to coffee with someone, I always end the conversation with like, what can I do to help you grow your business, or who can I connect you with? And that's not only helping your past client, but it's helping that vendor too. And you're sending them business, and one day they're going to turn around and start sending you stuff because you've helped their business grow so much as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, very cool. Well, man, we've been talking about a lot of different stuff. Anything else that's coming up for you that you think our listeners would find interesting and helpful in terms of that we haven't covered yet, that you think would be interesting for them to know about in terms of, trying to grow their business and things that maybe have worked well for you recently even?
Another thing that I've kind of done to really jumpstart growing my sphere and my CRM, I was like, how do I add a bunch of names and numbers and emails to my CRM to start just marketing to people? Started doing like large community events where I started small, just started doing like an Easter egg hunt, and it's grown to arguably the largest Easter egg hunt in the area, where I'm having people just sign up for it. They don't really have to sign up, but they sign up, they get entry in the winning bunch of gifts from donated local businesses. So I'm collecting 500 names, numbers, emails, adding a question. Are you thinking about making a move in the next 2 years? 50 of them check yes. Now I got 50 people to call that might be moving. So I started implementing these different events. Do that one. I do a skate with Santa Claus. I rent out the ice rink in our town and get a title company and a lender to pitch in on it and just have a free skate with Santa, have a friend be the Santa Claus skating around. Kids love it. While the kids are out skating, I'm mingling with the parents.
Oh man, that's so great. That's so great. So it's like, so you're planning most of these events, or you have somebody else planning the events and you just kind of sponsor it, or how does that work?
I've been planning them. I think this year it might be time for me to step away from that Easter egg hunt because it's a whole nother animal that I'm not prepared for.
I know 500 registrations. That's quite a bit. That's quite an event. Yeah. Holy cow.
We had like 6,000 people at this past one. So it was just,
oh my gosh.
But yeah, so I started using like these different events and kind of partnered with the Park and Rec here as well to became one of their largest sponsors, which then puts me at all their events, their end of the season baseball party. I'm there with the table with big sign giving out popsicles to the kids.
Yeah.
And doing stuff like that, like a Halloween bash. I'm there, and like I was bringing all the canned food donations from our Easter egg hunt. We have 1,500 canned food donations. So I'm just trying to make a community impact too. I'm bringing it into the food bank, and the lady just goes, I don't know your name, but you're the community realtor guy, aren't you? I'm like, oh, it's working. So
yeah, that's awesome. So what started as, I don't have much money, I want to just get involved in the community, turned to how else can I deepen that relationship, right? How can I go deeper, right? And that led to events. And now you're doing massive events with 6,000 people. Okay. So it's not, I think that's a great takeaway and a great point, right? Like if you're in the real estate business and maybe you've even tried an event before. I know I've tried lots of different events over the years. Sometimes they've been successful, sometimes not, right? Sometimes we get, 20 people or 15 people or sometimes very few, and it maybe was a flop, so to speak, right? But if you can grow it to a point where there's several hundred or thousand or however many people, right? Those are good events to be a part of. And I think that's a great way to grow your business. Obviously, you get 500 names and 50 of them checked a box saying, yes, I'm thinking of making a move. That's a great lead source.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be afraid to do an event that flops too. I mean, I started off with really small ones where I was hosting like a bingo at a bar and trivia. And we had one bingo event that one couple showed up. There was me, a lender, an insurance agent sitting there, and two young, like early 20s, thinking about buying a house one day. Like they didn't even know it was like supposed to be a real estate thing. There was like, oh, it's date night. So we found this. And we're sitting there like kind of embarrassed at first. Like, well, let's have fun with it. Let's hang out with them, buy them a couple of drinks. Yeah. 6 months later, they bought a house with me. So it was like, all right, even though one person came to this event, turned it into a few grand. So it's
one person did an event. You think it's a flop. It still turned into business. That's a huge takeaway for sure.
And people too just see that you are hosting an event. Like I'm not posting on Facebook, oh, this event was a flop. It was, I had a great time at this thing. Yeah. So people are seeing you're consistently doing this stuff. It's building trust in the community, and people are seeing you're just out there having a good time and doing things that they're into as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no kidding, man. I love that. It's so simple. And I think it's easy to get discouraged in this business, right? It's easy to say, do an event like that, and you think it's not going to work, or you think you're networking, or you're trying to build your database and you're talking to people and they're not really moving or not really doing something. But I think there's two things that stand out is you just got to keep going, and you got to go a little deeper, and just go a little deeper and a little bit more, and just keep going. And eventually, boom, things happen. And I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And just finding whatever you're interested in, and then taking that, like for me, it was high school football. Really enjoyed it. How do I use that to grow my business? I'm mentoring a new agent in my office. He's really into like the boxing community of our area. And he's like, oh yeah, like I wish that could work like that. I'm like, it can. Like, you can host camps, you can sponsor things, like use that. How do you get more in front of those boxers' parents? More in front of the coaches? Like, you can use anything.
Yep.
Then just get your name out there, meet more people, and provide value.
Totally. God, I love that. Man, I love that story. I love that concept. Be relentless with your database, continue to build it, build events, go deeper, provide value. Lots of great takeaways, lots of great nuggets. Well, Jake, I appreciate you coming on our show, man. And I appreciate you sharing lots of good insight with our listeners. And any last words you want to say before we kind of sign off for the day?
Yeah, I just appreciate you having me, and happy to be a resource for anybody if they want to call and kind of see what they can do to grow their businesses. I just love bouncing ideas off of people and trying to help them as well. So if anyone wants to give me a call or shoot me a text, the number is 608-799-0351. I'm in the Crosse, Wisconsin area, but I also am licensed in Minnesota as well. We're right on the border. So greater La Crosse area, Wisconsin, Minnesota, just happy to be a resource and help any new agent or someone who's looking to buy or sell.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, again, Jake, I appreciate you again coming on our show and sharing some great insight and great nuggets. So I hope our listeners got some great value and great insight in there. And if you're struggling out there, just keep going and host more events, get involved in your community. And you could easily do 30 some plus deals a year from 12, right? There's a growth plan for you. I mean, it's easy enough to do, and you're a written testimonial to that. And I can share that it's worked for me. I've done a lot of their very similar things over the years. So hope you've got some value out of this. Again, you're listening to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, along with Jake Ramey today. So from La Crosse. Tune in next time if you're interested in hearing more from our other future listeners, and I hope everyone has a great day. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.